Hello,
That was
hello,
slick.
hello. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2. So happy to see you all. I see everybody's already talking. Bryce, Mike, Allison. I hope we're sending to YouTube. Oh, yes, we are. So it worked this time. That's fantastic. Well, I don't want to waste any time. You guys have sent in all your questions for Mr. Scott Leonard. And we'll get to as many as we can. And it'll be a good time. So thanks for stopping by. Here he comes.
Oh yeah.
All right. There he is, everybody. Scott, let me hear you talk. Just make sure you can be heard.
Hello, hello.
All
Can you
right.
hear
If
me?
anybody can't hear him, let us know. All right. Bryce is here. We know Bryce. And
Hey, Bryce.
there's Brian Weaver, our friend from Florida. And
Brian.
there's Brenda Lee, Marianne. Where's Brenda Lee? There she is. Hey, guys.
Hello.
It's really great to see you all. Oh, Stacy's here. All right. From the bus. Stacy's on the bus.
Nice. The M60. That's a good one.
Very specific, yes.
You're not going to LaGuardia, are you? Jeez.
I think that our friend in Florida, one of our friends in California is, we won't name her at this point. She's reading the subtitles that are generated by Facebook right now in her classroom.
Oh, wow.
God bless
Carla.
her. Carla. All right, we said it. Hey, Stephanie. There
Hey,
she
Carla.
is.
Stephanie, hey.
Hey, guys. So we have all your questions, and I'm sure we'll come up with a few more. Oh, here's one more. I'm the purple-haired girl from the Midwest.
Ari,
There's there's only
How could we
one.
forget?
Yeah.
How could we forget?
Well, let's get right into it. So the number one question, as you can imagine, is how are you?
Boxers.
And boxers. Every possible version of how you are. So we'll
How
start
am
with that. How are you, Scott?
How am
How
I?
have you
Jeez,
been?
I feel the same. I feel fine. No problems.
New York
Everything.
has been you've been in New York during the most of the pandemic, I would guess.
Yeah, I have been. I think Midtown and the really bustling business centers of the city really were ghost town like and still are a bit. But in the residential area, Upper West Side, Brooklyn, it didn't ever really feel that different. Other than you got the on-street dining, they've got outside dining you can still have. So that's kind of cool. It's like these crappy little
Yeah, I like
cafes
that.
in the street, and some of them are really nice. But yeah, New York is carrying on.
Did they keep that on-street dining with heaters and stuff during the winter?
Oh yeah,
All right.
they figured it out
Nothing
pretty quick.
stops New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first up is Lee. If you had not become an entertainer, what profession would you have chosen besides cheesemaker and office
Oh
clerk?
no, I can't speak cheesemaker.
No, I guess
Uh,
not.
Well, gosh, what was I thinking? Because I didn't really have a family history of entertainers making a living, so I never really considered that was a likely choice. Just kind of ping-ponged into it. I went to college, played baseball. I don't think I knew that I would never be good enough to, but maybe I could have made a living somehow in the baseball industry, in the
Sure.
coaching side or in the whatever side. But perhaps that I guess I don't know. I
Yeah.
never really.
So you started leaning towards performing early on, as I
Yeah,
recall.
I went to
Yeah.
University of Tampa, which was a really small school. I was I sang in high school and stuff, so I just automatically kind of joined those programs at UT, and they turned out to be a great little school, and it's small enough that I could be featured pretty early and kind of realize, okay, this might be a thing. And then there's Disney World to make a
Yeah.
living. There were a lot of professional dinner theaters in Florida when I was going to college, so I got my union card in college and sang at Disney World. So I kind of like snow ping ponged into this career, and then that one led to Japan,
Sure.
which led to recording, which led to then I always wanted to move to New York City. And the Rocapella put an ad in the paper in 19 when I was back from Japan's maybe my second stint in Japan, they put an ad in the paper looking for a certain type. And nobody heard of Rockapella yet, but I loved acapella already. I loved the Nylons and vocal groups growing up, Mills Brothers and Beach Boys and Bread and the Crew Cuts. And so I always loved that male harmony stuff. So when I saw this ad in the backstage, Rocapella wants a certain tenor with a certain range, certain style. I said, oh, this is good. So I sent my stuff there as well as other stuff to decide. Once I got back from Japan, the choice was to go live in Tokyo, which is what the record company wanted, but I wanted to move to New York. So, and I could go. I said, well, I'll go to New York and start with Rocapella, and at least I won't have to wait tables, and who knows what'll come next. But then we started. I mean, they needed somebody quickly because Carmen Sandiego was starting, and
right,
so
and Steve Kais had left, right? So it's
he decided to go to law school because that was the choice. So they needed somebody. So I started, and then pretty quickly on, it was like, oh, okay, this is just kind of snowballed into a bigger deal. And
somebody coming up has actually asked about. We'll get to that, but I wanted to ask, related to what you just said. I don't think I've ever heard this. Like when you're in University of Tampa and you're starting to sing a lot, did you just? I mean, I've been down to Florida and experienced some of this. Do people just know that there are jobs in Disney? Like you were pulled to Disney basically by just natural.
There was that for performers. There was Dinner Theater. There was Busch Gardens, which was also in the park, but it was kind of like the minor leagues compared to Disney World, which is like, oh, that's a great job. It pays the most. It's talented people. If you make it into that, so that was kind of everybody wanted to work at Disney at that time. So
sure.
So it was, I would guess, my last year of college. Because that was a full-time thing during the day and everything. With Dinner Theater, I could go to school during the day and then go to do shows at night wherever the theater was. But Disney World was kind of like, when I was a kid, I think we'd go to Disney and go, my parents would go, oh, man, you could do that.
Yeah.
Plus, I got my wife there, so that was a good thing.
So when to some extent, when other people were going out, maybe partying, drinking, you were gigging. Is that a fair
Pretty
statement?
much, yeah. The freshman year was the partying, gigging. And then sophomore year, I think I did, because I had never really done any theater as a kid. I did, as I was a freshman, I think I did a musical at UT. And then this next year, I was the lead in the musical. And then that led to the Dinner Theater, that whole stuff. So,
it started to be very clear, I guess.
8 shows a week.
Yeah.
And still doing college because, I was a music major, voice major. It wasn't exactly I was like a computer scientist or some sort of thing that required a lot of time hitting the books.
Did you, I know you met Kevin Wright, one of our former members, in Dinner Theater. Was it during that period in college or was it after?
Yes, it was totally.
It was back then.
He was, I think he was he might have been in his last year of high school or so, but when I met him, because I was like my first or second year in college. And we met at the Mark I Dinner Theater in Lakeland, Florida. He was kind
awesome.
of, and his older brother was in theater, and they were theater stars in their Central Florida there.
So he was very similar to you. He came out of the womb singing almost. Just
I think he was. Yeah, my mother played. We had an organ in our house, and she would play, and I would stand by her and sing like try to be like little Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson. I remember, so I guess, and the response to that when I was little was there. I think I must have realized, oh, people think this is good. Like they're surprised by this sound or whatever. So, and along the way, as I sang in high school, stuff like, oh yeah, there's something maybe unusual here.
Yeah, and you didn't have American Idol to kind of reflect off of and
no, that's
here,
of course they had, in the 80s they had Star Search and like I think Billy Porter, and people went through Star Search back in that was the early American Idol thing, but I was in Japan when that started up.
The colorful Billy Porter that's still with us, right?
Yes.
All right.
Billy Porter was Star Search.
He's been around.
And Sam Harris before that, Sam Harris.
Good old Sam. Well, related to that, Kevin N. says, what can you remember about the process of auditioning for Rocapella?
I remember it very well. Let's see. I'd gotten back from Japan like in the fall or around Christmas, and I had to decide whether I was going to go live in Tokyo or or make a go of it in the States. So I sent my I made a video compilation of my stuff I'd done at Disney in Tokyo and other recording stuff I'd done. Sent it to various opportunities, whether it was like well the you know I the people that Transcontinental in Orlando, I had an offer to go. I could have been, well, I might have been involved with one of those groups, like the Backstreet Boys
Oh,
or the
that
like that
transcontinental. Oh
was
my
the,
God.
that era. But nobody knew this stuff. So I sent that, and then but I also sent stuff to Rockapella because I want to go to New York. I want to live in New York. I always
Yeah.
had. So, and I didn't hear anything back from them, and I didn't think anything of it. My wife Lisa said, "What about that group Rockapella? Did you ever hear from them?" And it's probably like a month or 6 weeks after I'd sent the stuff. I said, "No."
Hmm.
I said that was at least worth a that what I sent was at least worth a call or an audition. And right then, the phone rang, and it was Sean, and he was like, "Oh, we'd love to sing with you. Have you come up and sing." So
That's crazy.
we get to go up and see them perform at Green Street. We called it Upstairs at Green Street, which is in Soho. This club, the
Yeah.
little club they would play, and then I would see them, and then I would sing with them. And I came up, saw them, sang with them the next day, and that was it.
So did
And
they
so
bring you on stage at Green Street in the beginning there? Like try you
I
out
don't.
at some song?
I just met them the day before. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I may They might have done another gig later on with Steve that they brought me up. Maybe because I did Green Street with them as a
Yeah.
group because we still did that before we did the Bottom Line in New York. But
Yeah, that one and Don't
so
Tell Mamas were
they
their home, really. Yeah.
going to start. So then I needed to be back up because there was a meeting with the producers of Where in the World's Carmen San Diego in, I want to say April. And they wanted to, I think it was surreptitiously to kind of check out the new guy to see if he was up to snuff. So I came up at the end of April, and then I haven't gone back since. So I guess of 1991.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Well,
but it was
that's
fun. It was
amazing.
fun. It was fun. I mean, I can remember meeting the guys. It was at Sean's apartment, and yeah, it was like okay.
It was the same apartment I auditioned in, the Village,
Yeah,
Greenwich Village one.
yeah,
Yeah,
East 10th Street.
that's interesting. They also, you, whatever, waited a while for me, I remember, and I was like, is this going to happen? And I took another temp job in LA and didn't.
I remember meeting you in a hotel room. Like,
Yeah, you guys were coming to LA to do some record label convention at the Beverly Hilton. And I was in LA, so it was very fortuitous. I'm like, oh my
oh
God.
yeah, okay.
I don't think I realized at the time how lucky I was that you were just going to be there. And it was a rainy night, and I drove over, and I was in Sean's hotel room, and I remember you were all going off to the gym, which pretty much remained the
Some things
same
never
for the
change.
next 20 years. So let's see here. Joey says, hey guys, any plans for more living room jams before the Christmas tour kicks off? Yeah, funny you should mention, please.
Yeah, we did. Well,
In process.
we do this
yeah.
commercial medley in our show usually, and so we made a revised version of that. Well, I made the arrangement of it. You have to make the arrangement, send the guys, each guy their own part in one ear and everybody in the other ear, so that when they're performing it, there's no delay. So you can do it by yourself, but I have to kind of prepare the whole thing. So that's off, and the guys are working on their parts now, so that should be not too far in the future, I would imagine.
It helps to work with total professionals who can
Yeah.
bring their A game to a degree as much as possible. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's still a challenge, but I appreciate them very much. Let's see, Brenda Lee, have you been working
Brenda
on
Lee.
any new music, or
man.
maybe another solo album? That's a lot. I
Yeah,
know.
my days, even with the pandemic, are the same. I mean, other than the not traveling to do live shows, I just get up and work on music every day, whether it's for Rocapella or for Japan or for Natalie or myself or with Jesse or Korea or whatever. So I'm making music all the time. So with the pandemic, I was allowed to kind of think bigger, and so I arranged a whole Beatles show for Rocapella. So the guys haven't learned all the songs yet, but there's an entire new Rocapella product called the Beatles show
Just
that's
waiting.
been
Yeah.
then now I've been getting close to finishing up a non-acapella like concert meets musical meets ballet, big thing or big time thing. So there's, I don't know, if I could probably play something
The
for you.
pandemic is good for that sort of thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like I can think, get a lot of time in your hands. Make a play. Do you think I'll be able to
I
maybe
think
play
it'll come out your
something?
speakers. I think. Try
Yeah,
it.
you'll just hear it like what I got. Beatles, Beatles, Beatles. This is Rockapella Beatles stuff.
Blackbird or
RP,
something. I don't know.
Beatles.
I see a couple questions coming through
That's
the feed
not it.
here that I'll pull up after this.
Oh,
Philippe from Brazil, he
Can you hear that?
says, Felipe, he says, please, One Man, One Mic, Volume 3. And is there a Christmas tour? Stephanie, go on the website.
Okay. Are you not hearing that music I'm playing?
Play it again. It's hard to hear, yeah, because of the compression of this.
Okay.
But we can,
Oh, well.
maybe we can make a little preview for people at some point.
Trust me, it's there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the question?
I've heard it. It's gonna work. That's all. I mean, I've heard the Beatles stuff. It's gonna work.
Well, you can't really mess up the Beatles stuff too bad.
Yeah, you can hang whatever you want off those melodies. Really, it's gonna be something useful. Pedro, from the feed. This is an interesting question. It goes to studio stuff and stylistically. The albums after Don't Tell Me Do are really, I would say, including Don't Tell Me Do and On, sounds so different than the albums with Sean. Well, there are many reasons for that. How would you summarize that?
Gosh,
Different, I mean,
I
technology.
don't. I haven't
even
listened to them.
changed.
I haven't listened to them, so I don't. To compare.
I know that we started recording digitally at that point, and we had New Guy, we had Kevin.
You know, we did more. It was funny with Sean, Scott, and Elliot, and Barry and Sean, Scott, and Elliot for the arrangements. We could figure out the 3-part stuff on the spot, kind of. There wasn't as much kind of in the laboratory arranging as much as there was afterwards. It became just Scott doing the arrangements, so more 4-part chords, more layers of vocal percussion with Jeff and Jeff, and it became a little bit more produced. I would say, if maybe that's a big difference.
Yeah, I
voices.
remember there was more of a pressure to have a pop album, really, like to have a
Yeah, that's
product, really. It wasn't just Rockapella doing its own thing. It was more
That's
like,
true. And plus, Sean's voice is so distinctive, and Sean and Scott together, I think, is a really good. It's like almost the same voice, but just kind of a third apart. I think so. That sound was, was, and plus Elliot in the blend was unique as well, and Barry's bass. It's like it's different. No one's going to say who's better than what, but that original sound was an original sound. It was the original.
And Kevin was certainly a development, and he's a beautiful singer, and I had no problem with his sound. But you have to evolve. I mean, I like to say bands don't last much more than 3 years, so we count ourselves lucky to be able to evolve, really.
Changing your thing. It's like it kind of gives you a new. Every time it feels like a little bit of a boost. It's like I remember when Steve came in after Kevin, I thought, because Kevin has one of the most beautiful male voices. I mean, but then when Steve came back in, I hear him saying like, "Oh," because Sean was a little more rock. Kevin was more just beautiful pop, and then Steve was back to that more edgy. Where I was like, "Oh," because it's interesting because the way Scott's voice works with Steve or Sean or Kevin, and then with John, and George's bass is groovy, not as totally deep as Barry, and John is his own timbre as well. So with John and George, it was a whole nother Rockapella. But it's so been fun. When you apply the arrangements, kind of the same direction and arrangements, I think you're allowed to, it keeps it feeling rock. It has kept it feeling rockapella maybe over the years. It's fun to,
Right.
and Mitch, I love the Mitch blend with Mitch and Bryant, and now with Jose, it's it's always, it keeps it fun for us too, probably, Jeff. It's like it's different. It's different personalities on stage. It's different, it's
Keeps
been
me
still
awake.
fun. It's still fun. I can't really remember what it was like now that it's been a year and a half, but
Yeah.
it it's still fun,
I,
really
I
fun.
love I love Jose. I've loved all of them, but here comes Jose, and I feel sad that he hasn't had more of a chance to perform. I mean, it was Christmas 2019 and COVID, and we did New York Showcase in January 2020. That's it, and that's really the last time we saw all these lovely fans at the meet and greet in January 2020. That was it, and goodbye, Jose. And I'm so glad we've been able to work with him at least remotely. So
Yeah, true.
good luck to us all. And Brenda Lee says, I miss live music and concerts so much. She's been listening to all your music. Keep her spirits up.
Oh,
Oh, that's beautiful. Dear Brenda Lee. Okay, another super fan that we haven't seen in a while, Keegan, a friend of mine back in the day. There was a live stream concert. We tried December 2020, and there was a 3 or 4 song EP on vinyl that was being offered. When the concert was canceled, so too was the EP. Any plans on releasing this? I know how I feel. I think there's, I don't know how you feel. I think it was a
what do I
cool
feel
idea.
about what
About
did we
putting it
make
out,
it
I
yet?
guess, at some point.
Or is it something that we haven't made yet?
It was going to be That's the Way, re-recorded, and then
Oh,
one or two other things, I think. And the main issue, other than no live stream to sell it by, as I understand it, there's a worldwide vinyl shortage, and the lead time. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's hot now. I mean, you can go into Walmart and buy records now for $20, $30, but the lead time to make a record, even a 7-inch record, is like 18 months or something like that,
wow,
which
the
is
supply chain. It's
it's
Rocapella's supply chain problem.
it's really bad. So, is it a valid product? Absolutely. That's all I can say, really.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Be Best 27. I wish that you guys would be able to perform in Canada more. If you ever come east, go to Halifax, Nova Scotia. It sounds very interesting just without even being there. Halifax, Nova Scotia. My childhood dream would come true to meet you guys in person. We've tried Canada. It's a tricky nut to crack, I would say.
Yeah, there's like the visa stuff is a pain in the butt, but
Yeah.
no, we always love going there. We've been there several times.
Yeah, we did, I think, a little
Remember
club in
driving?
Toronto.
We were going to fly from some gig in Canada to a gig in Seattle. Because of the weather or something, we had to
Oh,
drive.
typhoon or, yeah.
We had to drive. What a pain. Ugh.
Yeah, we've
But
tried.
we don't hold it against Canada.
Right, and they did get Carmen Sandiego back in the day, as I understand it, but
Oh yeah.
it's not quite as wired for Rockapella as the U.S., I think. Lacey, what have been some of the most memorable concerts in your career, and why? I guess that doesn't have to include Rockapella. What are the most memorable
Most
concerts,
memorable concerts with Rocapella were
or without us, I guess?
I think the 4th of July with the Boston Pops was good. Christmas with the Boston Pops was great because we stand backstage and they play Sleigh Ride and all those songs I heard when I was a kid.
Right. Yeah.
The first Japanese concert we did was memorable because the warning to us was they're going to really love you, but they'll be the audience will be very polite and don't expect to be screamed for. So when we came on a stage, they were screaming every lyric and clapping. It was like, oh, now you understand. This is why the Beatles didn't want to. You're like, you couldn't hear each other. It was so like rabid. It was like, oh my god, that I won't forget that. I won't forget being behind the curtain at the Tonight Show
Oh,
on New
yeah.
Year's Eve. I was behind the curtain waiting to go on to sing "Long Cool Woman." That was memorable.
How nervous were you?
When I was in 5th grade, I was the lead in the musical, and I had to sing Would you like to swing on a star? I was the Star-Bellied Sneetches. It was like a Dr. Seuss thing, and I was so nervous before my solo. I'm backstage. And then right before it started, I took a deep breath and said, "I'm not going to be nervous." And I have never been nervous since. It was like something it just cleansed me, and I was like steeled for whatever. The more I tend to get nervous if I'm not prepared for something, but with Rockapella, it's like it's so loose and fun and yourself that there's nothing to be as long as you know your part. When I know I made all the parts, so I know the parts, so I think I
Yeah,
know what's
exactly.
happening. So
And when you did Jay Leno, I assume same thing. It's like
I
once
do
you're on,
remember we were doing Zombie Jamboree and Long Cool Woman. It was supposed to be Zombie Jamboree and then Long Cool Woman. And right before we did, Sean goes, "You go first." So we did Long Cool Woman first and Zombie Jamboree second. I remember that
yeah, I
moment.
mean, I've been on enough TV shows. We both have been on enough TV shows to know that once you get behind the camera or in front of the camera, rather, I mean, it's just a stage like any other, really. And you can, if you work at it, you can, in my opinion, you can forget that it's TV and millions of people, and that's a good thing. Maybe you just do a show, you do a performance.
Yeah, I think when you're in the moment, you don't.
Yeah,
I don't think about the result. You just are comfortable with what you're bringing, and you just let it rip.
right, right. Let's see here, Trisha. I'm a huge fan, and I'm thrilled to have a Facebook Live chat. Thank you. It would be great to know the story behind one of your songs, a great story from the road, or something unexpected that happened during a show. You want to do all three of those, you're welcome to. The story behind
Any
one of your
song?
songs.
Any
I
song?
guess if there's a good story,
Is there a good story?
I don't know.
Probably. I see the stories. People love a lot of the ballads, like "People Change" and "I'll Hear Your Voice" and "Don't Tell Me You Do." "People Change" is just a lot of times with ballads. I'll just kind of envision like a movie or a movie making as a movie scene and how it plays out. That was inspired by "People Change" is like a breakup song, and it's set in my mind in this park that's right by the Sheridan Square one train station. There's a park there with all these kind of statue mannequins just in kind of like poses around on the bench. There's like a couple on the bench. I just kind of pictured this couple and then made the story out of that. And it's just kind of, and then like I'll Hear Your
Wow.
Voice was me thinking about when I left for college out of the driveway with my mother, leaving my mom, and how emotional that was. The first time that I'm going from Indiana to Tampa. That was inspired by that departure. "Don't Tell Me You Do" was I wanted to make a song that was a phone conversation. So it's just if you look at the lyrics, it's just a phone conversation. Doesn't really rhyme. It's not like a poem. It's just a conversation. Every song really probably has
Starts with something.
some
Yeah.
strange, some inspiration. Yeah, because at this point I've done so many songs that there's got to be something that I'm like, okay, that's good enough to
Yeah.
add to this. Because the first song you do is probably your greatest because you've been thinking of it since you were a kid or whatever.
Right.
But then to keep it coming, there's got to be some good, unique, something that lets it earn its right to exist.
Well,
To go
that
on.
it's interesting that leads into this question. Actually, a couple people asked about NYC Summer.
NYC Summer. Oh,
Yeah, that's from the Out Cold album, which is a Japanese album, everybody.
that's NYC Winter. NYC Summer was from
Oh, right,
Vocalbeat.
Vocal Beat. That's right.
So,
Is there a connection? Somebody's asking, is there a connection? And how did it turn into Song 9?
yeah, that's a good question. How did it
I've
turn
always
into
loved the song. I remember being happy we were doing it again in some form.
I remember that. Well, I was really into kind of pushing the more R&B direction for some stuff because Rockapella was, a lot of more straightforward pop rock. So I think and I was enamored with the technology of samples, and I think it was before we had just gotten vocal percussion. Because before that, we were using samples of like claps and spits and sampled vocal percussion sounds, not like total grooves. And then they got this machine called the Roland DJ-70, which was a keyboard with a turntable, and you could sample it and put it up the octave, make this sound like you have a big bass voice, and you could really play with it. So I think I was really enamored with that technology and just making some a kind of a pop song, because in the early days, radio and record companies did not want Rockapella. It was like, what is this novelty act? So we were like, no, we write songs that could be on the radio. We just need to make them sound like they could be on the radio, because there was more technology, there was more production involved, and that NYC Summer was kind of like on the far end of the production at that point, I think. And NYC Winter was kind of like a response, just kind of for the people that knew of the NYC Summer.
Those two albums, those are the two that I really wish we could bring from Japan, and that's being asked about actually. Let's see here. I'm not sure where it is, but it's maybe you can talk about why those Japanese albums are not available. I don't think people really understand.
Well, they're owned by For Life Records. Like they were owned by For Life Records. I think they had ambitions to try to break through. They're a big record company in Japan, but not internationally. And I think they thought maybe Rockapella could be a ticket for them to go more international, but for whatever reason, they didn't make the move, and they own the rights to those records. So I guess we could ask, but it'd be real expensive. But why not?
Yeah, ask? I mean, I if they pick up the phone, something tells me they wouldn't. It's probably in a vault. My memory is that Sean said something about you guys wanted to try for a U.S. label and excluded the states from the contract or something like that. But in any event,
we did. I mean, yeah, that's true, because it was not the record we would release in America at the time for our own taste, because the first record was our arrangements of Japanese hits. So that had little relevance in America. Really, maybe it was short-sighted. I don't know. It was the whole relationship with For Life Records kind of went sour for different reasons. I won't go totally into it, but that was they treated us so well, and that was really fun for many years.
We ate very well. I remember that.
Yeah, and the tours and the tour support and just the production of the videos, the photo shoots, the whole thing was really, it was a good part of Rocapella's early career.
And we got to work, I believe, twice at Electric Lady Studios in the Village, which is such a special thing. Like looking back, I'm like, wow.
That was, but they would spend a couple $100,000 on the recording, and this is a lot in 1991 on each record, So any studio you wanted, Ikumi would, run the show to some extent. Ikumi-san is my mentor and friend from my days at Disney World, when I would go sing jingles for him, and then we got a record deal, and still to this day we make music together.
Well, maybe someday, or if they see this, they'll give us a call, because I would love to let VocoBeat and Out Cold have some air.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It was interesting. Within a month of VocoBeat, an all originals a cappella album, the House Jacks put out an all originals a cappella album, and that was really the first, in my mind, those two albums are the first contemporary pop rock on the radar, really, that was a cappella completely, like original songs back to front. Those two albums back then, that was a new idea. So Too bad it's not available. Okay, let's see. Also, the person who asked about NYC Summer loves Indiana. I was wondering if we still have it in the repertoire.
Gosh, well, with the new guys, they haven't learned it.
If we go to Indiana, they will, I guess.
I know it. I'll think that's a solo for you.
Yeah. Let's see. Suma. What was a favorite or memorable moment from Carmen Sandiego? And then Jennifer asked, what was the best part of being on Carmen Sandiego? So a favorite, memorable moment. What sticks out in your mind?
Favorite memorable moments. Well, let's see. The moment when Greg cut Sean's braids off the last show, That was unforgettable because we didn't know anything about it. And Sean and Greg had planned this. And so what you see on the video is actually Elliot and Scott and Barry and Jeff too, maybe, looking in utter surprise that, oh, I loved it. It was like a new era. Gone with the braids.
It was. And there was a lot of hair prior to that era, that's for sure, on everybody.
And I heard he's going to
including me.
auction off his braids one at a time.
Yeah. I'm amazed he kept
Still
them.
has them.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Kind of nappy. That's like a 25-year-old braid.
I know. I hope he washed them. John T., your ingenious song People Change is built around the chords of Pachelbel's canon. What inspired you to write lyrics for that famous piece? That was a bold move, and you did it beautifully.
Well, thank you very much. But it was funny because I wrote the song, no idea that it was the chord changes from Pachelbel's canon. And then one day, I hear Pachelbel's canon, which I'd heard before, and I'm like, oh my God, I stole that from Pachelbel's canon.
Really?
I didn't have any idea. But then we've exploited it since with Boston Pops. In our orchestra show, we blend Pachelbel canon with People Change. But no, I just totally ripped it off subconsciously because that is a beautiful chord progression. It's just kind of like the holy grail of chord progression.
The universe.
Yeah, the holy grail of chord progression. So there was no boldness in me to try to make a statement about classical music. It was just ripped off. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Pachelbel. I would pay you residuals, but,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have an estate. If there's a Pachelbel estate I should be paying.
Yeah, really. We've got a comment here I just spotted, which is related to what we looked at before. Kelly says, and we didn't really answer this question, the funniest, most awkward moment on stage.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. What was the other, Carmen Sandiego? It was like the favorite moment.
Oh, the most memorable moment in Carmen, and then favorite. But yeah.
Oh, favorite.
You can do favorite.
My favorite was when my son Jesse was we had him in 1993, so he was a baby at the time. And Barry did a character like this big baby, like he was dressed up like a baby, but he had that big voice, so it was just funny. It was funny visual. So one time they put Jesse in the exact same makeup, hair, costume, and his little crib, and then they would cut back and forth between Barry's face and Jesse's face. So that was really a memorable.
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
So let's see. Anything on tour that sticks out besides the crowd and so forth? Anything? I remember a lot of media appearances stick out in my mind. Just crazy stuff.
Really?
Anything?
I remember the media appearance. What comes to my mind is like we're in like Sarasota early on a Monday morning or something, maybe Friday morning, and we're for Christmas show. So we're just going to sing rocking around the Christmas tree. And if you've noticed, Rocapella, every song starts with a pitch pipe, where you blow the pitch, so everybody knows what key to sing in. And so if you blow it wrong, you blow it too high, then it's going to be probably too high for Scott to sing. If you blow it too low, it's going to be too low for the bass to sing. So I blew the wrong pitch it wasn't like a half step. It was like, a third or a fourth. And so everybody knew it, but we had to get through it. So it was like we started on the rock around. We're just like looking at each other the whole song. We're like, oh my God, are we gonna do this? Because it was so low. We just kind of had to get through it. What I remember are like mistakes or like forgetting the lyrics or, I always remember the problems as opposed to the triumphs, I suppose.
Oh, that's fair. And I mean, a triumph I remember is you, after you fell off the roof, you managed to perform while you were medicated. I was blown away. We were all like watching you just to make sure everything was going to be okay.
Yeah, I remember this because it was in Long Island, like at that place we played a bunch of times.
Yes.
And the first night was 2-night gig. First night I did it with just Tylenol because I had like 7 broken ribs. And
that's dedication right there.
And like I could, breathing was painful. I did that whole show on Tylenol the first night. It was just like all the choreography, and then the next night I did it on the Oxycontin or Oxycodone, whatever it was. It was perfectly fine the next night. It was just, I'm surprised. I could see how you could get addicted to those kind of painkillers because
Felt good.
I was sad when that last pill was done. I was like, ugh. You don't feel like high. You just feel like everything's good.
Oh my God.
I can sing 7 broken ribs. No problem.
Our last main question here from the emailed questions comes from Rob, and he's asking, have you been keeping up with Carmen? Essentially, I think he's talking about the Netflix animated show. Apparently, they have a hashtag now, Summer of San Diego. They don't call. That's my impression.
He doesn't call. Well, she doesn't want to be found, and we probably have more information on her whereabouts than anybody. So she probably is trying to be really elusive. No, I didn't watch that. I don't know about it.
Netflix is
supportive of it.
Yeah. Well, let's just take a quick look at what's been flying by here. There's a lot of comments. Sherry says that was so traumatic, referring to your falling off through. Bless her heart.
If anybody's got questions for Princess.
Oh, Princess is here.
Yeah. He's right here to answer any questions.
Carla from the West Coast says that was my 100th show. Lucky Carla.
Which one?
I believe the one in Tampa, or no, the one after the Long Island one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. Well, let's go to this thing. I want to take a look at some photos. These are archival photos, and just see what pops up in your mind. So we'll go to this situation here, and let's look at this guy.
Yeah. That's hair.
Let's talk about hair care.
I'm telling you what, that Rocapella was a hair band when we first started. Sean had the braids. Barry had a huge long braid down the back. Elliot had fro, and I remember. Well, that's cool.
I think the word now is metal. You are metal in these pictures.
I remember. That looks like when we were opening for Joan Rivers at a casino in Atlantic City, and we do Long Cool Woman. It's probably that song where I'm wailing, I'm acting like I'm a rock god, and we finish, and the audience is like.
There's a memorable show.
And I said, I'm too sexy for this place. It was like when that Right Said Fred said. So we got a huge laugh out of that.
Oh my God.
But I remember because I got the perm. I got a perm. Maybe the first season of Carmen San Diego.
Perm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But anyway, so we started the show. I didn't have a perm. So we had a 2-week break, like midway through the first season or for the first taping, and I got a perm. And I came back, and the producers were like, "What did you do? Don't you know you're on a TV show? You can't have different hair day to day." And I'm like, sorry, we're a rock and roll band. Do what we want.
There's that Tonight Show that we spoke of earlier.
The
moment.
Cool Woman, there it is.
Yeah.
Cool. That's
quite a thing. And then this has been unearthed in the past few years. This is Billy Joel. And there's only one tape. It's very blurry, I know.
That was memorable. Because it was Billy Joel, Sting, Don Henley on the same bill for the benefit for Walden Woods. That was cool. We thought we were very cool. Mm-hmm. Then we went to Planet Hollywood for the bash afterward.
Oh, and did people compliment and mingle with you, or just kind of look at you like an oddity?
I don't know. It was Billy Joel sitting next to me. Who cares about,
he sat with you?
No, I don't remember. It was
okay. Let's hope.
All the celebrities were there. It was the Christy Brinkley days. It was like, everybody wants
to there you go. Complicated times. This is
right.
This is from the dailies of the Christmas Folgers ad, and there's little Jesse over there. And
there he is. Yep, that was great. We shot that in Canada. That part was at Whistler, like a ski resort, and I had an injury there too, because the first part we did in Vancouver, where they sprayed fake snow on the whole side of the mountain. The reason I have a hat on is because this huge lighting rig fell on my head. They had to take me to the hospital. My bloody hair. They had to put a hat on me I came back by the end of the day. He's like, I'm like invincible. You cannot take me down.
So there's blood underneath that ski cap in that picture right there.
Totally. I still
Yeah.
have that sweater too.
Oh, it's a nice sweater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh my
that's
gosh,
cool.
my wife's pregnant. Totally pregnant with Natalie. Natalie's so pissed because if Natalie would have come early, she could have gotten residuals because Jesse made like 30 grand on that commercial.
Oh my
Hey,
gosh. So Lisa right here is pregnant?
she's way pregnant.
Oh
So
my
this
God,
is
I can't tell.
September, and Natalie was born on Halloween.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that other shit, really.
And then I know that Kevin,
I hate coffee.
yeah, Kevin's kiddo was new. Was Amy pregnant too? Kevin's
Amy
wife?
found out she was pregnant on that trip because we were driving up to Whistler from Vancouver, and we had to stop the car because she got sick.
Oh my
And like
gosh.
they took a test, and like, oh my God, number two's on the way because Gracie is in the commercial, right? That's Maya and Jesse and Jackie. Little Gracie's in Amy's arms,
Oh yeah.
and Eli is in the carrier. So Folgers had to pay a lot of residuals for all these people. So we were just hoping that Natalie would come early. See, you can see Lisa's really pregnant right there, and
Yep.
then we could have gotten more money.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And then, of course, there's this one, and that was quite an interesting experience. It was not a real street. I know that.
That was cool. That was really cool. But
Very
what-
cool.
Yeah, like where do we stayed in such cool hotels in Los Angeles for those trips. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
what was it
Yeah.
in the month? I don't remember. It was really cool.
I remember the
those-
guy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't remember. Go ahead.
The guy at that end shot, the gentleman who was standing next to us. It's not in this picture, obviously. He was like one of these guys you see in a lot of commercials, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I did something else on this very corner, but it was not the newsstand. It was dressed up as something else." So
Right,
it's
some
quite
murder
a
happened.
factory out there. Yeah. Here's Germany.
Oh my gosh! Look at that,
Yeah.
John and George, and our military escort.
All the bags. I just
Oh
remember
yeah,
a lot of
Germany,
bags.
Schleppland. Japan, you get whisked on the bullet train here and there. There's helpers for everything. In Germany, you're going train to town, lugging your suitcases on these trains. It was like Schleppland, man.
I
But
remember.
a beautiful place.
Beautiful place. I miss it. That was a fun period in our life. But I got bigger muscles from those bags. I remember that, and I started to question why I packed so much every time. Didn't change anything really. And then
That's
here's
just-
one. Look at that. You know what that is?
Oh, Steven Tyler.
There he
That
is.
That's memorable because we did a benefit somewhere in Boston, and he was there, and we brought him up on stage to sing with us, and we did we did Keep on Smiling or something. I don't know why I called it out, and he didn't know the words, so he was like kind of like making it up. So then we get to Tokyo. They're playing Tokyo Dome, so so during one of his songs that he thinks I know the words to, I don't know if it was Walk This Way or what it was. He yanks me on stage, and he got me back. Like I'm like making stuff up, just trying to wail on whatever syllable made sense.
My memory is you did sing the correct lyrics and you really did it. And I asked our manager if there's a tape somewhere, because I'm sure they make tapes of all that stuff. It's for the
Yeah.
Jumbotron. But these are actual photos. This is that's from the side of the stage at that show. And then this is looking out before the show. That was a surreal experience.
That's cool.
And then
Yeah, like, they were
twice as
they were great
surreal.
guys.
And then here's an interesting one.
Oh yeah,
You see what that is?
sure, yeah. Is that Symphony Hall?
That's Symphony Hall. That's the wing of Symphony Hall going on, or what it would look like to go on to the Pops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Jana on the left. Still friends.
Jana, that's right. That's her name.
She had a baby.
We did so many shows at Symphony
I-
Hall.
That was so enjoyable. That working with the Boston Pops, man. That is just like singing to your radio. It's like when you sing a cappella, there's the constant subtext of staying in tune, and there's nothing to keep you in tune other than yourselves listening and producing. But with the orchestra behind you, it's like just singing on a cloud of this wonderful sound. Fantastic.
And I always got the impression they've seen it all. Like, oh, here's another
Yeah,
one.
they're like,
Let's
"Oh,
see what
okay."
they can do.
They would clap. They would all tap their little bows and tap, 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 tap. Good job.
Yeah,
And I can
what I
remember,
was.
like, and then we do People Change, and like we do, then it goes into Taco Bell's canon at the end, so you can just feel all the violin players rolling their eyes, like, oh God, are we gonna play this thing again? That's so artistic of you, little Rockapella man.
Oh my gosh. Well, we wish them well. I'm sure they've had a hard time during the pandemic for sure. And there's the 4th of July. That's the dress rehearsal. I remember that day. I mean, you got to go in a limo because there was a lot of security because there's so many people going. And I live near Boston now, so it's weird. It's like suddenly we were in that where now I can, it's never going to happen again, probably.
Dr. Phil was the host.
Dr. Phil was there. I have a picture with Dr. Phil somewhere.
He really helped me through a lot of things that day. It was great.
Oh man, how about this one?
Oh yeah.
That was a day.
Jeff has done so many great video ideas. This is a really epic one with a drone.
Well, we were blessed for this. Oh my gosh.
A guy in Branson had the drone and like had the boat, or who had the drone?
It was the guy who brought us to Silver Dollar City. His friend was a reasonably well-off physician, and he had a boat and a drone. And so that chain led to, let's shoot a video on a boat, and the guy would do the drone. I think he had the goggles so you could like be the drone.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool.
And I just remember, that's our guy Mitch. My head is blocking my other head, but bless his heart, Mitch. He was so game for anything.
He's great.
He's a great guy. That was a beautiful day. Yeah, I hope we get other crazy filming opportunities like that again. Here's another photo from that. There they are.
Oh wow, that was expensive bail.
Yeah, that's a beautiful theme park. Like Branson, take it or leave it. There's a lot going on there. It's not for everyone. You can certainly be entertained there, but Silver Dollar City is a great theme park. Yeah,
that's fun. It allowed us to work on stuff too because we were together 3 shows a day for several days. And
right.
Yeah, I like those residencies we would do, and even in Reno and other places. And Laguna Beach, man, what's the deal? We got to go back there. That was great.
My gosh. Last one. Can you recognize this?
Oh, yeah, sure. Italy. That was fantastic.
I think Fossano, I believe. It's a festival in Fossano.
Yeah.
And I think that's after the show.
No, that's during we up on the roof. It's because it rained out the night. It was supposed to be at night. So we did it the next day or the day of or something.
Right.
And, so it was great. I remember learning a lot of Italian for that show to try to.
Your language skills are amazing.
To try to make us seem friendlier.
He's a sponge, ladies and gentlemen.
But then it's all gone. I'd have to get back there quickly or else it would be all gone.
I just remember having some of the best pasta I've ever had in my life, and it was just like McDonald's to them. It was just like, oh, here you go.
Right.
And I was like exactly what it should be in every way.
I love town square. The thing about Europe is the squares are squares. When I first came to Times Square, I'm like, this is not a square. This is some sort of triangle or some sort of pentagon. It's like in America, we don't understand what squares are, but they call it Herald Square, Times Square, Madison Square. It's not a square.
That's I just remember the parts of the town were older than America. I just remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Everyone's been chatting along with what we were looking at. Just one final look through the comments here. Scott gives his all for Rocapella, including blood. That is correct. You are correct.
They just don't appreciate it.
Yes, please, Laguna. I saw 11 shows. Carla, you're the best.
Oh, nice.
So thank you so much. This has been so fun, and I hope we can do another form of this, perhaps like a nighttime one, so the Japanese audience can be there. I know that some of our diehards in Japan have said, "Oh, we can't make it because we're in bed, basically."
Oh, you mean a daytime one, so that's their nighttime?
Something that works out, like a Friday, Saturday.
Because right now it's night in New York. Where are you?
Excuse me. Yeah. So if we can make that happen, that'd be great. I know a few diehards have been asking, but you're always welcome. No matter who I have on, I'm hoping to have a few alumni, and I think we've got Calvin coming up next week, and anyone else I can drag on. So please, everybody, come on back. And thank you, Scott Leonard. Let me do the applause sound effect again. Hey. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to do the socials. You're there right now, but like, follow, subscribe. And if you're watching this video archived, well, you know what to do. Thanks a lot, Scott. Have a great night, everybody. Be safe. See you next week.